Hello, everybody.
Have a front camera?
I do, but I don't feel like messing with it. But as you can tell, we're off to a great start as usual. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Merlin the Mighty video reviews. Merlin reviews. We're reviewing Dune, the Denis Villeneuve part one. Part one. Yes, they don't tell you that. The setup.
Dune, the setup.
The part one of the Denis Villeneuve. Hope I'm pronouncing his name right. Version. Let's see. Well, I don't know. Where do we want to start? With the basics of what we liked or we didn't like?
There's sand.
There's a lot of sand. There's...
Of course.
It's rough.
Music's good.
It's everywhere.
Music's good.
Music's real good. Special effects are fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes. The special effects are really good. The visuals are good.
Acting's pretty good.
Pretty good. Yeah.
Pretty good.
There was one scene where I was had to lean over and ask, but...
Oh, about when she was upset
Yeah.
when the Bene Gesserit lady left, and you thought you wondered she was crying, or
I couldn't tell if she was crying, upset crying, or trying hard not to smile.
I think she was just doing one of those really intense facial
expressions.
Yes, where a lot of emotions. But I think she was sad. I think you're right. But overall, I mean, the movie was very well cast.
Oh yeah.
Great cast, actually.
A little bit too many slow motion, not flashbacks, flash forwards, I guess.
Well, look, it's Dune, so you got to have some dream sequences. But I will admit, they did slow the movie down a little bit. A little bit. But
I thought it had good pacing, though.
it had good,
for the most part.
had good atmosphere. It felt like there was a lot of pretty shots. I wasn't really bored with it.
Yeah.
But I felt like it was...
Dear God, this movie could have been black and white. They could have done this movie in black and white and just put the blue in for the Fremen eyes. Because this movie is gray as fuck.
Yeah, it is.
Every goddamn planet in this universe... Okay, you had the...
Caladan,
which
Gedi
is...
Prime, Seleucus Secundus, yeah.
The Atreides planet was the least gray of all of them. It was still fucking Twilight gray.
I mean, Arrakis was reddish, yellow tint because it's
Yellow.
desert. Yellow.
White.
Yellow.
It was just white. It's just white. White gray was the beige planet.
Well, look.
And then you had the dark gray planet where all the bad guys come from.
Well, of course, dark gray.
And then Rain and Blood.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rain and Blood. I mean, well, I like that. That's, let's see. Well, all right. Backing up just a second, I guess. Well, thank you to both for coming out to see this with me, because as you know,
It's one more exciting movies come out recently. I hope it does better than Venom fucking 2. Because Venom 2 did better than both Black Widow and fucking Shang-Chi.
Yeah. Venom did really well. The second Venom movie, which I didn't really like very much, it broke a lot of records. But anyway, for those of you that don't know, I'm a pretty big Dune fan. Would you guys say that?
Yeah.
Pretty big. So I want to wonder, do you? All right. I know this is going to cut off, and I'm going to have to record again because my phone has limited sections here. But okay, I like Dune a fair amount. So I'm wondering about when I'm talking about this movie, how much my feelings are going to kind of influence my review. How would you two say you feel about Dune? Is it because it's kind of rubbed off because I like it so much? I've kind of it bled over onto you guys a little bit.
To a certain degree, but it's a good sci-fi series.
Okay.
The original David Lynch movie is really silly, campy, fun movie to watch. I really liked the sci-fi series for both Dune and Children of Dune, which was a more close to the book, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Version of the story.
Still the closest, actually.
Yeah, and actually a lot of color.
But, yes, actually a lot of color, yeah.
But yeah, so I enjoy it. It's not one of my favorites. I'm not hardcore into it. I'm never going to try to crack through those 5 billion books. But I was really, and I was excited to see this movie.
So, all right. Overall, I want to start with you guys. So, wait. So, just generally speaking, I think we talked. All right. I'll start with Gimli over here.
Okay.
Put you on the spot because I know Troll's got stuff to say. So, okay, pros. What overall? What do you? Okay, you say I think you liked it. You said it was good. What were your favorite things about it? Best things.
Music's good. Acting overall is very well done.
The
landscape.
Yeah.
Like just the
cinematography and stuff.
I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but everything felt big in this fucking movie.
Epic.
They did a good job making
Scale.
everything fucking big in this
Yeah.
movie.
I agree.
And it kind of felt like you were actually sort of in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Kind of otherworldly.
yeah, otherworldly. So acting, music, scenery, just the cinematography. I don't really have too many downsides either.
Okay. Well, then we'll save downsides then, because I know we all agree on at least one. So, Troll, what'd you like about anything? Echo anything different, specific?
Really great special effects, good fight scenes,
Set design, costumes.
It looks like a fucking sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like they're just assholes wearing modern day clothes.
Oh yeah.
walking around.
You always
Like,
hate that. Yeah.
I fucking hate that. But it doesn't look like that at all. When the Emperor's Herald showed up, it kind of gave me some 40K vibes going on.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
With like
The Space
all this
Marine guys.
shit, giant fucking scroll out of nowhere.
That was good.
Leave your mark.
Leave your mark, yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely it felt big and sci-fi in a good way. I'm really happy that we got something like this nowadays, because apart from this, the only when was the last time we had a fucking epic sci-fi movie that was worth the damn?
Like epic. I mean, the best sci-fi that comes to mind is like Edge of Tomorrow, but I'm not sure if that's really like epic though.
In a different way, maybe, but yeah, I know.
It's like a smaller scale story,
Like,
kind
this
of.
is-
Space Odyssey.
Space opera.
Space
Like,
opera. This is the best space opera I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
We just don't get those nowadays, really.
Not at all.
True.
But yeah, the movie looks fantastic. The acting's great. The music's awesome, like you said.
Spaceships.
The spaceships.
The
Spaceships
Thopters.
are fucking huge.
Yeah, the spaceships are, and aerodynamically they don't make sense.
No.
But they're great. But my favorite actually of the design was the Thopters, how they get around rockets. They look
Oh
like
yeah, the
dragonfly things.
They
Those
look
are really
like
great.
dragonflies,
I love how everyone had this little tiny shield thing. Like most of them on a watch. The Baron Harkonnen
On his
had it
finger
his
thing.
fucking ring.
That
yeah.
was awesome. Yeah.
Sorry. I like the Harkonnens. We'll talk about that in a second.
yeah.
But yeah,
And he-
overall, I liked how you could tell where each faction apart.
Yeah.
yeah.
Everything like that. Even though they all wore black,
They
you could
somehow
still
are-
tell-
For the most part. Except for the Emperor's
Oh,
guard.
the starter car were all in white.
White,
Interestingly, yeah.
which I kind of did. But despite the fact everyone was wearing black, you can still tell
Who's who?
who's who and what
Yeah.
group they belong to and everything.
Yeah,
So,
that's true.
Overall, really, really good movie.
Good. Oh, awesome. All right. Well, then I'm just gonna mostly echo that, guys. I'm just thinking. Yeah, pretty much everything you guys said. I loved. I mean, Denis Villeneuve he's just a great director, great eye for camera, and he knows how to tell a story and get that atmosphere.
They didn't know what fucking trailers put in front of this.
Oh no, the trailers were horrible. They were we had what weird thrillers, supernatural.
Some
Some-
weird
some-
horror movie.
Some sort
Scream?
of Scream, some sort of romance movie, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the trailers were bizarre for this. But
To be fair, what the fuck's coming out? I mean,
yeah, that is true. They got to promote stuff for the beginning of the year, not a good time.
Yeah.
But no, I really echo that sentiment. I guess I'll get more into adaptation stuff. But really, overall, I liked it. I know that there weren't too many cons, but all right. Yeah, man, I know that you had one. I think we all kind of agree on
by the
one.
way, Bagpipe was awesome.
Oh yeah. I said to Troll, I was like, because I know you got excited when Gurney's men they're like marching on Arrakis and they announced it with bagpipes. I just knew you'd probably get like a letter grade up just for that.
Yes.
It was so awesome. Like whatever,
Yeah.
it fits.
Yeah.
But something, a kind of a nitpick. I mean, I don't know.
Conan's.
The Harkonnens. You don't really like them that much. I kind of liked them.
They're
They
just not the
didn't
Harkonnens.
seem-
They're the generic sci-fi bad guys.
Like, they didn't seem scary enough.
They didn't seem memorable enough. They seemed like your generic sci-fi bad guys, like
Yeah.
what you'll find in A/B movies. Like, oh, they wear
Right.
black, they got bald heads, they're all white.
They I thought that they were kind of creepy. Like they did have their own distinct style,
Yeah.
A little bit. It was mostly it was their pet human spider thing.
but
Yeah.
that was I kind of wanted more of that.
That's probably the most scary part.
Lynchy, like, oh yeah, our weird genetically
But
modified.
Other than that, there wasn't any real like
There's big,
horror
there's
type
big,
thing.
there's big broody guys
Well,
and one
yeah.
really fat guy who governs them.
Well,
They're nowhere near as unique or memorable as they were in the Lynch version.
They didn't have as much personality, but even more so in the sci-fi series version and in the book. I mean, they have much more presence. They're a bigger part of the story. I feel like they were barely part of the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the Emperor's behind it, but we haven't seen him in this.
They talk about the Emperor more than they talk about fucking
The Barons.
Barons.
So it's weird. So I felt like, I mean, I liked them, but there wasn't enough of them. But I really liked, any other...
What we saw was really well acted and interesting, but...
Just like 3 minutes?
Barons in like
two and a half scenes.
And a half, like really tiny scenes.
Barry Piter has less to do in this movie than the original.
Yeah.
He doesn't even say much. He's just like, hello, I deliver the message, I'm bald.
Yeah.
That's it.
I was in the Suicide Squad.
Raban, though. Raban was good. Dave Bautista, he had more to do.
Batista did the most with what he got, but again, he was just like...
He's the big, beefy...
He's the only one really interesting, because at one point he just yells in anger over the situation.
He's like, oh, how could the Emperor do
and
this
Ross
to
is
us?
just like...
we'll be real relaxed. To be fair, that's his character, though. He's the brutish guy that's not as smart, but, he was at least putting energy into it.
It was at least interesting. if it'd be great if he could have fought anyone that we knew or cared about.
He'll have more to do if there's a second part. Were there any other cons? I know you didn't have many, Gimli.
Just that one scene, them with...
her...
I couldn't really figure out...
Jessica's acting when she was sad.
Her facial expression.
That's See, these are nitpicks.
But then again...
when you have a good movie, it's like, what are the cons? Like, well, these are kind of things that I don't like. Speaking of which,
the tint I know you didn't like, the gray.
This movie could have been black and white. I think I already said it.
I think you may have, yeah.
But also, one other small nitpick, because we don't really see much of her, because she doesn't show up till the very end of the movie.
Chani,
Yeah.
Zendaya.
I swear that actress seems to play the same character in every movie. She's kind of falling into that trap a little bit. I'm like, when I think of her character in the original Dune movie, I didn't think of her cracking smart at Paul as soon as she meets him for no fucking reason.
It's definitely more subdued than in Spider-Man, but I get what you mean. She's still kind of digging at the male lead, but it's minor. I don't know.
I know, like I'm not offended by it. I'm like, this seems very, very familiar.
I don't think she's the most seasoned actress, but I think she did pretty okay with what we saw of her, really.
Yeah, it was fine. It wasn't terrible. It's just like, are you going to just do this in every movie now? I mean,
yeah. No, I mean, I can understand that. So, I mean, I'm actually happy. I wasn't sure, but
I was real happy with it. Yeah. Like, I really liked it a lot.
Yeah. Are we doing letter grade?
Yeah, overall... I really liked it too. Yeah, let's start with letter grades because I don't know. All right, I'll start with you. Gimli, you're ready. What would you say? I know the bagpipes got it up at least one, probably.
Solid A.
Wow, an A. Yeah. Dang. Okay, roll over here.
I'll give an A-. Maybe it's because of like the drought of like other good movies out right now that hyped up me for a bit. But
I may change
if it was
future.
If they add some fucking color to the movie, I would have given it a full A.
I think it worked for, like, future.
It worked, but it worked in the way it's worked before Oblivion and Edge of Tomorrow and every other fucking modern sci-fi movie we've had.
I agree.
I kind of wish it had a little bit more visual.
Well, look, the costumes and sets were still really distinctive. Like you said, even though everybody was dressed in the same thing.
That's why I still like the movie. Hence, I still gave it like a high grade, but for me, it's an A-.
Yeah, I probably would probably lean more towards an A-, though it's tough. The only thing that actually kind of bothered me was I was wondering, like pacing-wise, I think it was good, but there were a couple points where I do think they might have been able to utilize their time a little bit better.
The flash forward scene. And you brought up the fact that there's a point in this movie where, no real spoilers, but there's a point in this movie where it should have gone to one thing, but instead they did this other thing, and then went straight to the one thing.
Yeah, because there's a couple characters that they kind of don't make it, and I knew they didn't make it.
But they hold on for like an extra scene or two,
and it's not a bad scene, and it helps with the plot and stuff. Yeah. But it felt like a diversion. Then we just got back to where we were.
Like, hey, this movie's already like 3 hours long. Come on.
I felt like maybe it could have been utilized a little more, but that's still a minor thing. I really don't have any issues. I thought it was very well done movie. Mm-hmm. I really liked it a lot. How do you think it compares? 2 questions before we go. All right, how would you compare it to the David Lynch 80s one?
Both have their pluses and minuses, obviously.
Certainly. There's no wrong answer. I actually think it's a better made movie. I can't deny that.
Yeah.
I'd rather do a drinking game to the David Lynch one.
I think the David Lynch one's more fun.
Yeah.
And there's more chance to get a laugh out of that one.
Yep.
This one, though, I think is much better shot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Cinematography for this one's amazing.
Really good.
Well, like I said, which one do I prefer? I think I'll have to wait till I see the second bit because the story isn't done yet.
Actually, a part of me was kind of thinking I would have liked it. I mean, obviously see it earlier, but I would have been fine with go full epic 4 hours. Just give me an intermission.
Yeah.
Give me a dang intermission.
Just go 5.
Just go 5 hour? 5 hour? Sure. Why not? Honestly, they don't do that enough. As long as there's an intermission, let's do it. Like, how long were old intermissions? 15, 20 minutes?
Yeah.
With some orchestra in the background, let's do it, you know? But yeah, another question. How do you think people that don't know anything about Dune would feel about it? Do you think they would still...
I think this is more approachable than the
David
Lynch
Lynch version.
Okay, I think which is weird because...
It's more welcoming to people who are as into really fucking weird sci-fi shit.
Yeah. Okay, I think so too. I think so too. This is...
I mean, you think of it this way. 2 droids are in a desert planet. Like, that's the opening scene of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Who would have thunk that would have panned out like it did?
You're right. It could have been very weird.
Now, like this, I think it's sort of the same way. Where it's like...
Also, they don't try to pack...
interesting and whatnot. Okay, I'll go watch it.
Also, with this movie, they don't try to pack 3 books worth of shit into like the first opening scene.
Like you even pointed out, the romance in this one's much better because they're building it up throughout the movie, whereas in the David Lynch one's like, we met.
By the way, we're love.
we love each other so much. Like we do. Okay, I guess movie's got to wrap up soon.
Yeah.
I do hope we get that super duper cut at some point, but they'll never get the official version. We'll see. But yeah, that's it. Any final thoughts?
No.
No?
No, I'm good.
Good. Well, Well, thank you, gentlemen, for enjoying Dune with me. And if you're interested in sci-fi at all, I highly recommend this one. See it in theaters. I really hope it gets a sequel. I don't want this to be like...
I'm going to be so pissed off if this doesn't get a fucking sequel.
Just like, so, anyway, everybody...
and that Michael Bay fucking... ambulance.
Ambulance.
Just Speed.
It's just...
But worse.
In
every way.
All right.
I'm sorry.
It's a fine, everybody. Say goodbye.
Peace.
Stay magical, everybody. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Merlin the Mighty review continuation. I'm going to put this at the end after my little car review last night with Gimli and Troll. I mean, because, one little review about Dune wasn't enough. I just had some time to think about it, and I wanted to add a few more things, just a little more fleshed out, because I think the film deserves it. Pretty much like we all said last night, I actually really, really liked the movie. I think it was an extremely well done film. I'm going to just reinforce everything I said. I think that the cinematography and the use of the landscapes was really good. Really impeccable set design, costumes, and special effects. Fight choreography was good. I liked the shields. They weren't the weird Minecraft block things, which I do like. But I liked the way they did the shields. It was pretty cool. That they kind of like phase in and out all the time. Let's see. I loved the set design of the ships. A lot of the practical effects in there. Costumes were really cool, still otherworldly, but still old-fashioned, like we kind of said. A couple things I wanted to just harp on a little bit more that we didn't really talk about. There are a couple scenes that they kind of put in there that they extended because of the longer runtime that were closer to the book, like Gurney's fight with Paul is much closer to how it is in the book, which I appreciated. You get a little bit more of his character, and that goes into my other point, but there's a couple little scenes actually that were really well done, but one of my favorites was actually how they did the Hunter Seeker scene, which is a little different. Whereas in the David Lynch movie, it's like this syringe that's controlled, this remote control floating syringe thing. In this one, it actually looks like a tiny robotic insect, so it's even smaller as a good kind of subterfuge, stealthy device. So that seemed really futuristic, but also kind of natural. So I liked that as well. I thought the way they did that scene was great. The Hunter Seeker was really cool. Just one little detail I wanted to put in there. And really wanted to emphasize how because of the pacing being a little more traditional and certainly more tempered and deliberate, there is a strong atmosphere, which I talked about, but also it allows scenes to breathe a lot, and it allows the characters to really be enhanced by the acting and the writing. Because one thing I'll say is I feel like a lot of the David Lynch characters. That movie had a star-studded cast as well, and they did a good job with what they had, but it was kind of messy, and a lot of scenes were removed, so we didn't have as much time to really get to know a lot of those characters right as well, not quite as well, but just the performances carried a lot of it. Like that's why you had Patrick Stewart was Gurney Halleck, and people remember that, and that's pretty iconic, and he does a great job because he's Patrick Stewart, but he has very little character in the movie. So it's like kind of that trade-off. In this film, I feel like they got to flesh out the characters more in the book, so they felt more well-rounded, and you knew them better, you liked them more, they had a little more humanity to them. So I think that's definitely a stronger approach in a lot of ways, though I still like a lot of the characters in the 1984 film with that portrayal. Just very different. Though I really wanted to stress good how good the acting was, and just the direction from a cinematography and editing perspective, but also just how Denis Villeneuve gets to really bring out those great performances from his actors. And I really wanted to emphasize how good of a choice I think he was for this project based on a lot of his other films, because I've liked a lot of his other films that I've seen, and I think he was definitely the man for the job with this. I think, and I'm realizing now, as I look back at his filmography, and now with Dune, I realize that he is one of my favorite directors. Certainly, he might be my favorite contemporary, newer director. Relatively new one. I really like him. I think he's one of the great directors out right now, and I didn't say that, and I really wanted to emphasize it. And just, this cast is great, and they do a really good job, but, I mean, Oscar Isaac, I think, does a great job as Duke Leto, making him kind of well-rounded. He's frustrated, but he also cares a lot about his family. He's very honorable. A lot of little details I liked, like, I'll say, for instance, for compare contrast, Thufir Hawat, I actually like more in the David Lynch film, because I think he has one of the few characters that I think got a little more screen time in the 80s movie. And I like the character a lot as the advisor, Mentat, humor computer guy. But I liked the character in this movie. He seemed a little more... I mean, they both kind of unsure themselves when things are going wrong, but I like the guy was kind of humble. Then there's that one detail where his eyes kind of go back when he's processing a calculation. There's a lot of fine little details to flesh things out that you can tell that somebody combed over the book and really tried to flesh out all the little details of all the aspects, like the film books, which are just like these little projector things. They're basically these far future computers, apparently. Just everything about it seemed really done with a lot of care. But yeah, I really liked. I forget her name. What was her name? Let's see. The lady that played Lady Jessica, Rebecca Ferguson. I've seen her in a couple things, but she was really good. She was really good. I thought she did an excellent job. One of the strongest performances in the movie. I thought she was a great Lady Jessica. Really, I mean, I could just say that the cast was great. Really, a couple of the other ones, like I think Josh Brolin, like I said, as Gurney, I felt like his character was kind of fleshed out more than the previous film version, which I appreciated. But I thought that I thought that Jason Momoa as Duncan was kind of an obvious choice to kind of once again try to make it a little more appealing to mainstream audiences, because Duncan Idaho is a character who is likable and spoilers, isn't around very long. So he's just kind of there to be liked, and then we kind of lose him. But they give him a little more time, and I think that they really made his character even more likable because it's Jason Momoa, and they really benefited from his charisma. And he was awesome. He got to have an awesome moment. I also liked the version of Dr. Kynes, who they changed the gender and race of the character, but I mean, it didn't really change anything, but I thought that performance was really good. I liked that they actually got more of that character in to the story than in the original film, so that was good. Let's see. Oh yeah, and the actually, and I have to say, is it Timothy Chalamet. The guy that played Paul, the young actor that played Paul, was fantastic, phenomenal. Apparently, he's done other things. I've been told. He's done some other recent films, more in the art indie circuit. I think he apparently was in Lady Bird or something. Maybe that's correct. But he blew this away. Like I was really stunned by how good it was. Like particularly the emotion when he's kind of having the vision of seeing the fact that he's going to become this leader and messiah figure, and he's got to become this great hero, but there's also going to be a lot of bloodshed in his name, and he doesn't like that. He'll be kind of responsible for a lot of the destruction, which is something that Paul's kind of wrestling with. And he's also young. He's a kid, and he's just, his father just died, and he's lost everything, and he's out in the desert in this strange planet with his mom, and like you can really see he's got all this turmoil that he's dealing with, and that emotion there, and also from Rebecca Ferguson played Lady Jessica, also her emotion too. Was really well conveyed with a lot of these scenes. I really liked that. I liked the Bene Gesserit were cool. I think that the fact that the Emperor isn't really seen, but we feel his presence is interesting. I also wanted to emphasize I did like the Harkonnens in this, but I do agree with what Gimli and Troll said. They didn't have as much presence, and they weren't quite as distinctive as they were in the Lynch version, because they were more memorable. And oddly enough, at least for the based on this part one, they had a little more character, surprisingly, in the Lynch movie, which is weird to say because people make fun of them for being caricatures, but they kind of were. Though there was a good horror vibe to them. It was still different. Though once again, the sci-fi original series still, I think, has done the best job really of adapting Dune thus far, and specifically the Harkonnens. And I think actually some of the video games probably have as well. So oddly enough, really, if you want to see the closest adaptation, that's still the best way to go. But let's see. Yeah, I really wanted to emphasize that. Just the performances were really good all around from everybody. Skarsgård was good as the Baron. Yeah, absolutely. And I mostly wanted to emphasize that. But I wanted to say the sweeping scope of this, just how otherworldly it was and how epic it really was. And in terms of that scope, I really, really liked the movie a lot. And I was and I went into it with an open mind, and I knew nothing about it. No reviews, no Rotten Tomatoes cheating. I knew nothing about percentage. And I saw one article, like at the beginning of it, but I just turned it off quickly. Like I went in pretty much blind to this, and I'm so glad I did. Because I am a fan of the franchise and the content, but I just thought as a film this worked really well, and it made me very happy. And one thing I think I really want to really stress how well done I think the film is, because I left this detail out because my mood did change, but I've kind of had a different sleep schedule due to school the past couple months, so. I've been getting up at like 5:30 in the morning typically, but my one friend Gimli, he has night shift, and I wanted to make sure he could come, so we couldn't see this movie until 9:40, and this movie is about 2.5 to 3 hours long, 20 minutes previous. It's like a 3-hour commitment, late in the evening, and having gotten up much earlier. I was tired, and I was kind of stressed about it because I didn't know if I was going to be able to be social and pay attention and stay awake. I was not really looking forward to it that much. I was like, oh man, I wish I could see this earlier. I was really not in a very good mood about the whole thing, and I was so tired. Really, I can't stress how I was not in the mood to see this movie. And but I'm glad I did. I'm really thankful I got to see it in theaters, the theatrical experience, with some friends. I think it's a great thing, and I do stress seeing it in theaters because I think that's the best way to experience it. I think it's designed for that, with these massive shots of the landscapes and all the brilliant sets and costumes and everything, the dream sequences and whatnot. Like I really like that. And I just love all the attention to detail. I mean, if you like Dune, I think you'll get a lot out of it, but I think if you're new to Dune, I think it's still more accessible. It is still a slow burn, cerebral, kind of weird sci-fi because it is still Dune. But I think that they have really tapped into that core space opera, young hero going on an adventure, to self-discovery and fighting evil is still there at the core of it. And I think they tapped into it. And Denis Villeneuve is just a good director. It just really, really sucked us in to that world. And what my point is is that as so tired and not that good of a mood I was in, I completely changed my mood before the movie was over. It just completely got me in a different direction, and I was so happy. And as I was thinking about it, like, wow, this movie is really good. So it might actually be an A movie. Like, I really don't have many issues with it from an adaptation standpoint or as a film. Granted, it is just part one. I hope it does well, and that's why I'm encouraging people to see it. But I just want to stress how this movie was really good, I think, in general, but especially for me, just because it was such a enriching experience, and it wasn't too high energy for most of it, because it was kind of very reflective and atmospheric, and it is that slow burn. But that worked for how tired I was and how late it was. But it still felt epic, and it was enjoyable. It had some really emotional, powerful moments, and it had some fun too. It felt like a good, unique sci-fi, and I really like that. So this is still very Dune for me. As far as thinking about the comparison with this and the original, because I feel like I should talk about that more, because the uh, the David Lynch movie is one of my favorite films of all time. It was recently on a video series I did with some of the other people from Dan's channel, with the Peter and Brittany and Tim and Justin, all those people, talking about all favorite movies recently. You can check those videos out. But I mentioned Dune. I reviewed it before. I've mentioned it probably a number of times over the years on the channel. So I do really like it. I've got a personal connection to it, and I like the book, and I like the lore in general. I've always just kind of been interested in it quite a bit. But it is that David Lynch weird mess of a movie that I do love. And I still have, like, I don't think this detracts from my love of that movie, which I was actually kind of worried, like, that this film would be so much better that I would never be able to go back to the 80s one. And the 80s one is still such a different animal that I think it's still worth watching. We even mentioned how I think in some ways it might be more fun to watch in a group, because this one doesn't exactly have as much of that silliness or that camp, and it's not that weird, and it's not that problematic. I will say though that the more traditional way of doing it, and as deliberately paced as it was, and also maybe it could have cut some things down here and there, but for the scope of it, I think this is the best way to do Dune. For the most part, is really taking your time to get as much of that important content in there as you can to strengthen the world. So I think comparing that to how the David Lynch film kind of tried to, like, just pile things on with tons of exposition was quite clumsy and weird, with all the internal monologues all the time, just expositing. It's very unique, and I don't know I don't know how effective it was, but it's certainly interesting. And I will say though, I think that overall there's no denying that this film is better, but there is something still valuable about David Lynch's movie, and I still would like to see an actual director's cut someday, David. I know he's probably never going to do it because he hates talking about it, but, like, I know people would want it, and they would give him the freedom to do that, but it would be cool to see. There actually is a version, somebody put a fan edited version with all the extra scenes put up, which I do recommend people watch, because it is longer, but it does explain things, and it fleshes things out more, and it's less clunky. So I from what I understand, so I think that that's still a way to go if you are interested in that version. But this one I think is more accessible. I think it's definitely very well polished. I think more polished, and it's just impeccable direction. I think the writing for the characters and just the narrative overall flow better. I think it's certainly more accessible, although I think some things might be a little harder for people to digest, but I think that more of it will be explained in part two. So yeah, I would be down for watching this whole thing in one sitting, maybe with an intermission, like we said. So it's still great Dune. It's a great movie in general. I really like it a lot. I think it's a really good film. I might actually leave it with an A retroactively, because I can't think of anything major with it. I mean, everything we mentioned before, they were like nitpicks. Really, they were like such nitpicks. Like, I don't know. I thought it was a great film, like an absolutely great great film, and it's honestly one of the best theatrical experiences I've had in years. And and I watched Shang-Chi recently, so take that into account. But for me, as a Dune fan and as a movie fan in general, this is really awesome. So had to make it even longer for people. But if people are interested in hearing my specific thoughts on some things that were missed, now you have it. All right, everybody, if you're still watching, thank you and stay magical.